Hi guys, Mike Wood here from Woody and Horlock. I'd like to obviously present my co-presenter, Mr. Kevin Horlock.
Down my neck of the woods today, mate, ain't you?
Yeah.
How was the journey?
Not bad, 4 hours. We're down in Surrey. It's a very beautiful place and it's called Surrey Podcasts. And it is a lovely setting. If anybody wants to do a podcast, come down here. It really is nice. Today we have our lovely special guest, Mr. Matthew Jarvis, who I had the pleasure of getting to know when I worked down at Wolverhampton Wanderers. And he's coming in to talk about his life, the work he does now, which is extensive. How are you today, Matt?
Yeah, Woody. Great to see you. It's been a long time.
It has.
Yeah, excited. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's great. So you were brought up, where were you brought up?
Well, I always have to say, because otherwise my dad has a go at me. So I was born in Middlesbrough. He's Middlesbrough, born and bred. But I was 2 weeks old when I moved down to Guildford in Surrey. My mum won. Yeah, she was from Guildford. So I moved down at 2 weeks old. So technically I'm a Guildford boy. Southern softy, as people say. But yeah, so I grew up in Guildford. So not too far from here, actually. But yeah, good times.
No disrespect to anybody in Middlesbrough, by the way. No disrespect, but you probably had a bit of a result, didn't you, being brought up in Surrey? We've just driven through here. It's just beautiful around here, isn't it? It's a stunning part of the world.
Well, still had family, used to go up there quite a bit. But yeah, and weirdly, complete side note, is it's the only stadium my dad really... my mum and dad watched every single game pretty much I played home and away throughout my whole career. I never played at the Riverside.
No way.
He was gutted. Gutted.
That's weird, isn't it? That's weird.
Crazy.
Yeah. Just missed each other in divisions, and then the seasons that we were together, that was more towards the end of my career, and I was injured, so I never played at the Riverside.
We were talking in the car park outside. I was wondering whether you and Kev had ever played against each other, but
probably just missed each other. I reckon.
Yeah, potentially.
I finished 2006,
yeah,
and that year I was injured, so. Yeah, potentially. I was at Doncaster. I don't know if you played Doncaster.
Yeah, we definitely played Donny. I can't remember. I mean, I am younger, but I still can't remember.
It's probably a good job you don't remember, because if we did play against each other, I was probably trying to kick you, mate.
Yeah. Well, that was the good part of my position. Yeah, I used to manage to try and have that ability to just touch the ball, but then get lifted up in the air. So
what was school life like for you?
For me, I loved school life. My wife always tells me now that I didn't have a childhood, really, because my childhood was completely different to everyone else's. Like, I did football, swimming, athletics, cross country, and I would do everything. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some days I'd be doing 2, maybe 3 things in one day. You know, Saturday could look like a football match in the morning, athletics in the afternoon, swimming gala in the evening. And I'd be one of them that would turn up to a school disco on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock, stinking of chlorine, just there for the last dance. That was my childhood, but I loved it. Very different to everyone else's, but having parents that had been in sport previously, had an older brother as well. I know now, having kids, I know it was probably just because trying to get them out of the house and not in the house causing carnage, but also I just loved sport. I think in my younger age as well, I actually preferred the individual sports to team sports, purely and simply because I knew that I'd done the training, I was ready, and I was in control, and I could do that, and I could psych people out before races or swim galas or cross country or whatever it is. I was able to do that, and don't get me wrong, I was a small, skinny little boy when I was a kid. I haven't grown that much since, but I was just able to get in the zone and be able to switch that on into competitive mode and channel everything. Whereas team sports back then, you're relying on so many other factors. And, then I wasn't, the most vocal. I wasn't, when you're in big environments, and, we'll come on to it. But, I started at Millwall. Millwall was, if you think back then, wasn't the nicest of places.
Hostile place, that.
So it was, that was more tricky for me as a team sport as a youngster.
So what was your go-to sport? So going back to your younger age, what sport would have you said, right, this is what I want to do initially?
Football was always my number one. 100% was always my number one. But I just loved everything else.
Excelled in others.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of them really annoying kids. I was Surrey champion at swimming. I was Surrey champion athletics. I was Surrey champion cross country. I was in the Surrey team for football. I was that annoying kid, and I know it, but I didn't care. I absolutely loved it. So I did the training, I did all of that, it was only when I got to about probably 14 really that the athletics guy was like, you can't really, because I never did the sprints as well, which it confuses the life out of me now. I was like, why didn't I do the sprints? That was my whole game, was I was quick.
Absolutely rapid.
I used to do, on the track, I used to do the 15 and the 800. Don't get wrong, I did the last leg of the relay just for the glory. And then I did cross country. And my cross country coach, he come up to me and was like, "You've now got calves and quads and an arse. Like you're not really a cross country runner anymore." Because you start getting, you're doing more and more training at football. You're filling into your own body, do everything. So I sort of got to about 14 and then had to sort of concentrate. Right, it was always going to be football, and sort of push that, and then had to sort of come off the other ones slowly.
So did table tennis never come into it? For those that don't know, both parents were ranked number one in table tennis.
Crazy, isn't it? That's how they met, playing table tennis for England. Yeah, they were both England number ones. My mum won the European mixed doubles junior championships. She also won the doubles championship Europeans. My dad was the England head coach at table tennis. It's a madness really when I look back, but they never pushed me and my brother into table tennis. There's no money in table tennis.
Well, we have a slight link there,
Yeah.
And a relative of mine, he's quite a long relative, like eighth cousin or something, is Fred Perry.
Wow.
Because he's from Stockport, and he was ex-world table tennis champion before he went on to play tennis.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
Didn't know that, did you?
And to be fair, it's unbelievable. Like, I consider myself okay at table tennis, but until you play someone that's actually good, like you can't even explain. I suppose it's like every sport, isn't it?
Yeah. When you get to the elite, it's a different game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that wasn't me. I was not the elite at table tennis.
Nobody could beat you at Wolves though, at table tennis, could they?
No, there was a few challenges. I'm sure George Elacobi will probably say that he was quite good as well.
Did George have a bit? Did he?
He had a little bit, yeah. But that's one of them things. I don't play now. I haven't got a table or anything like that. But if you give me 20 minutes to just get warmed up again, then you can start back. But it's a great game. It's an enjoyable one. Anywhere you are, you can enjoy it and play.
Remember Mick when I was at Wolves. Mick said, "No one's going to beat Jarvis." His mum and dad were champions.
But it doesn't mean I'm the same. But yeah, I give it a good go. I'm super competitive.
So your career, what was your first club?
At Millwall. I was in a professional club.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Millwall, yeah.
But Gillingham as a...
Yeah, so I again, you go back to... So I joined Millwall when I was 9. And I was there until 16. I was there 7 years.
Right.
And at 16, you're trying to get a youth team contract at YTS. I remember it like it was yesterday. After the game, me and my dad went into the changing room. There was 4 coaches. Long story short was they said... I wasn't good enough, got signed players in the year above in my position, and it was like no, yes, no, no, and then I got released. I've been there 7 years. A 16-year-old, I was devastated, absolutely devastated. There was a Gillingham scout outside the door, obviously been told who the players were getting released were, and a guy called Bernie Dillon, and he was like, "We got a game tomorrow. I'd love you to come and play." I was like, "No." I'd gone, I'd had enough. It killed me. So I remember going home in the car and just saying, I just want to play with my mates locally, And then this guy, Bernie, kept on calling. And about 2 weeks later, I agreed to go on trial. I played
well done, Bernie.
I know. Unfortunately, he's passed away now, but I'm still I still know the family because they looked after me when I was at Gills. About 2 weeks later, I went on trial. I played about 4 or 5 games. I was average, lost my confidence, wasn't great. They saw something, signed, and it's just like a light bulb moment for me. I don't know what your experience was like, but for me it was like a light bulb moment. I moved out home 16 and went into digs with 2 other players and a family. Actually, it was Ryan Bertrand. Ryan, who played for Chelsea, and him and his brother and his mum were my digs lady. Obviously, he was in the Gillingham youth team, but quite a few years below, so we didn't know anything. But I lived there for 3 years, and it was like a light bulb moment. I hit the ground running in my first year YT. Then second year YT, I went with the first team on pre-season tour. And then within a year, so I'm getting released at 16, 17, I'm playing in the championship for the first team.
Wow.
It's just a mad turnaround.
We spoke about this previously, haven't we? The amount of young players that get told no.
Yeah.
at such a young age, and like you say, you've had the mentality to come out of that and then go again. So many don't, do they?
Yeah, but to my point, when I know we're going to come on to it, but when I speak to players now, you need a period of time to actually process that, and it took me too long, but it took me 2 weeks. I might have missed that opportunity now, but you need a process. You need a time period to actually be like, I'm gutted, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm whatever. Because otherwise, if you don't, it's going to come out at some point, and so it's important to actually process and go, you know what, I'm really annoyed about that, or I'm really angry, or I'm gutted, I'm sad, or whatever. To again get over it, and then there's always got to be a turning point. You've always got to then turn that switch and go, right, done, let's move forward. And that was how I sort of challenged or processed that. Don't get wrong, I had lots of help. My parents were there, my brother was there.
I was going to ask. Yeah, your parents were.
And even though they didn't play football, they'd been sports people themselves. They know the mentality, the process, everything. And I've got kids now, and my son's 9. Right, he got asked to go to Chelsea at 6, and I taught him how to do bits and pieces, but he did it all himself. He loved it. He got asked to go to Chelsea at 6. He went, and at 7.5, they said no. And they get told that they have to have the best players of that age group every year, and I'm like, totally fine with me, not a problem. Like, I didn't necessarily want him to play football, but he did. But it's killed him. He's meant now. He's just
Hey, let's take a minute and process that.
Yeah,
6 years old, getting told no.
7.5. Yeah, 7.5. Yeah,
like, come on.
I know. And I look, I get it. Like, everyone grows and does in different times, but it just mentally for him, it killed him. It took the fun out of football for him at 7, and he was good. He was good, but now he's that mentality is hard to sort of just switch on and off in a young person like that.
Worried that he's going to get rejection again, possibly. Yeah. That's harsh, isn't it? That.
Well, at that age, I just can't imagine it. I mean, there's part of me thinks, is football that important?
Well, I wish I never took him, but at the same time, it wasn't me that wanted him to go. Yeah. It was him. Yeah. So then you'll be more resented that I'm not taking him. It was his decision, but I do wish if I could change it, I wouldn't take him. But
it'll come again. Do you know what I mean? If he might fall in love with it again, playing with his friends, enjoying it.
That's what he's doing.
I think that's what's important at that age.
You're spot on. That's why I try. And it's really hard. I don't know what you've been like if you've got kids that are going into sport, and I find it really difficult to be where I am, because I want to help him and my daughter. I mean, she's a lot younger, but I want to help him. If he wants to do it, I want to help him and give him all the advice and try and do it. But I'm dad. And he doesn't want to listen to me about anything about that. And you're like, I can help you. Yeah. Like, I really can. I know exactly where I've been there and done it. But I am just dad, and you've got to just let him go and do what he wants, and just encourage him, and let him figure it out.
The reason I'm laughing, I have that with my son on a golf course. Yeah. He took the game up properly. He played when he was there this morning. He took the game up about 1.5 years ago. Yeah. And he's got a really good talent. He got down to 4.8 handicap in like just over a year. And I'm like, hey, mate, give it a go here, And he'll quite happily listen to the lads who play off like +3 and +2. Yeah. Never take any tips off me. Never, ever. Even if I can see what he's doing wrong, sometimes no, he's not having it.
No, you can't.
Not off his dad.
Your dad. That's a great job to be at. It's just hard.
I totally get that. Yeah. So from then Gillingham, you signed for
Wolves. Yeah. So I did 3.5 year pro at Gillingham. Didn't sign a new deal there, which was, there's a lot made of that. But then I then got the opportunity. I flew to Portugal to meet Mick. I was out of contract, obviously under 24, but I was out of contract. I had a few clubs interested, and I got a call from my agent to say, Mick wants to see you in Portugal. He's over there. You go and see him. So I flew out to meet him, and he was, they lost in the playoffs the season before.
Right, yeah.
And he was like, we've got a really young squad. I really want you to come in, be the left winger, do this, do that. He goes, he says, I remember a game, because he was the Sunderland manager.
That's right.
And when I was at Gills, I'd had a hernia for about 3 months, and at the time the managers were Stan Ternant and Ronnie Jepson. and they refused. They cancelled my operation like 3 times. In the end, I couldn't train during the week. I was 18. I couldn't train during the week. I just played games. Because I was playing well, they wanted me to just carry on playing. And my last game was against Sunderland at Stadium Light. I played about 70 minutes, but I played really well.
When you know,
I played really well. And Mick remembers that game. He was the manager, and he remembers it. He goes, "Yeah, I remember like that game." And then from that game, he used to carry on watching me. And so that game, if I had my op, I might not have played that game. Yeah. But anyway, so I went and met Mick, and then as soon as I met Mick, there was any other club that I was going to sign for. I come back and I went up to Wolves, signed, and
was that the season that Wolves went up?
No, that for my first season we missed out on the playoffs by a goal, in goal difference, and then the following season was champions.
Yeah. So you'd been there a season till I went there, but I always remember Mick had so much time for you. He always used to say, if they were all like Jarvo, professional, trains hard, gives it his all, 100%, his job would be quite easy. Yeah. But there you go. How do you feel about that on a management level?
Yeah, that's the ideal situation. If you've got players that talented but apply themselves properly, train properly, then you want a winner, aren't you?
I must just say as well, Malden and Tiptree are at this minute in time top of the league, aren't you?
Yeah, but by the time they see this, we're either on to win the league or in the playoffs, so we don't know where we sit. At the minute we're top, but football, it can change very quickly, can't it?
God, it can.
Definitely. Yeah. So your relationship with Mick, obviously, I'm Mick's pal. I love him. He's been my best mate for many, many years. I don't know whether you've seen any of this movie with him in, but he's depicted by Steve Coogan, and I went to watch it. It's like, oh my God, they've got him as 3 inches smaller than Roy Keane. Frightened to death of Roy Keane, frightened to death of the Irish FA, and this bumbling individual.
That's not Mick, is it?
Well, what was your experiences with him as a manager?
Absolutely not at all. I have to say, and I wouldn't just say it, but he's the best manager I've ever worked with.
Oh, that's lovely.
By a country mile. But he had that aura when he walked into a room. Everyone was... but give him his kudos. Like, he was on the training field every single day, worked hard. His staff that he had around him were top class. Terry Connor's Mick, Terry Connor, Tony Daly was the fitness coach. They were unbelievable for me in my career, just because they were out on the training ground with me. Dales was doing extra drills with me to get quicker and stuff in the gym. TC used to take me out all the time to practice, left foot, right foot, crossing, shooting. So they had a huge influence in my whole career.
Oh, that's lovely.
But as a Mick, he was. There's no way he would have backed down on anything, and he certainly would voice his opinion.
I was watching that film thinking, this isn't my mate here on this film. Honestly,
he was class. The biggest compliment I can ever give Mick is he was honest.
Yeah, straight, isn't he?
He's straight laced. He would tell you whether you played well. He would tell you whether you didn't. He would give you a reason if you weren't playing. He would, but he would keep you on side. For me, it would be like, hopefully it didn't happen that often. But he would be like, right, you're going to be on the bench. These are the reasons why. You could have a bit of not an argument. Have a chat with him, but he would then be like, right, but I'm going to need you to come on and you're going to need to change the game for us. I'm going to need you to do this, this and this. And you come away being a little bit like, I'm annoyed and gutted I'm not playing, but I'm going to come on and I'm going to make that
That
difference.
honesty is so refreshing. I've played with some managers that haven't had that. And they lie to you. They say one thing and do another. Yeah. And I think that's one thing I've tried. No, I'm not managing anywhere near the level Mick's managed at. But that honesty side of it's something that's really stuck in my mind. Be honest with players and tell them why, and give you then the option to put that right. He obviously loved you and knows that you could change the game and win them a game, but to have that personal relationship with players, I think is really, really important.
How many times have you been told, look, we're going to rest you Saturday, but you'll play Tuesday?
Yeah, and then you don't.
And what happens? The team wins on Saturday. You're like, well, what about last Saturday when we won? Why am I out of the team this week?
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
One lovely thing I want to say about Jarbo, by the way, when I was at Wolves, we had 2 young lads who played in your position, didn't we? Johnny Gorman, who is a very, very good friend of mine. Johnny, by the way, is going to be Dr. Gorman next year, in psychology. So I'm so proud of him. He's done ever so well. And we had Zelly Ishmael, who you obviously reminded me earlier. he was touted to be the first ever £100 million player. I don't know if you remember that, don't you?
Yeah.
What a pressure that was. I mean, he's gone on to have a good career, played for MK Dons, didn't quite get to the 100 million, but after training, I asked Matt if he'd come and have a chat with him, about the game, and he'd give us an hour of his time every week. And you were great, by the way. I don't know whether you remember. Yeah. You'd come in and he used to go, I'm not quite sure I'm doing this, actually, because you both want my position on the team. But that was just the measure of you, mate. Yeah. And I just remember that. When I phoned you last week, I thought that was one of the main reasons. It's always stuck in my mind that there wasn't many. I'm not knocking any of the other players, but there wasn't many that would.
For a young player, that's massive.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have been very old.
I would have been 21.
I mean, wow.
For them to look up to you as well. I know they're probably after your position.
Yeah.
But to get your knowledge and advice, that's good.
Well, even though it didn't work out for Johnny, he's always remembered it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I that's what I do now. But at the same time, I had players, maybe not in my position, but going into a team at Gillingham, for instance, there's lots of older pros that have been there, done it. They, you give you little snippets, and yes, it's a dog eat dog world, and you every single time there's a transfer window, you go, we need players. Don't sign a winger. I don't want a winger coming in. Sign a centre forward. But sometimes I just life's too short to be worrying about everything. If you can help someone else in, maybe I was like that. Actually, they're a lot younger. We'll be all right. I don't know. But that's part and parcel of it. Isn't it?
Well, I appreciate it. So you did. Was it 5 seasons?
5 years at Wolves. Yeah,
5 years at
amazing.
Wolves.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So you'd have the promotion year, didn't you? And then
we first year finished 10th. Finished 1 point outside, 1 goal outside the playoffs. Second season we won as champions, and then did 3 years in the Prem.
Yeah.
With playing for England as well.
Brilliant. That was great. And an England cap, mate. You played for England.
Phenomenal. Yeah, and I that's why Wolves was an incredible part of my journey, I suppose. But first player since Steve Ball to play for England. The whole like club and fan base and everything was just incredible. Like pushing and trying to get me in there, and then revelation at Wembley. I mean, I could have been anywhere in the world, but I was at Wembley in front of 80-odd thousand.
What was that like? So what happened? Did you get a call?
So I got a text message.
Right.
Yeah. Fabio Capello was the manager. He didn't speak great English.
Right.
But as a wide player, if you look at players that are in that position, I suppose that I was in fighting relegation. These boys are all playing, top 6 teams.
Yeah.
So to get called up by him as well, who's managed Real Madrid and God knows who else, was amazing. But I got a text message which I didn't quite believe until I then got the phone call.
You thought it was a boy.
100%. I mean, you've heard the stories. Yeah, absolutely. So then I got a call from someone at the FA, and then just.
Can you remember where you was when you got the text?
Yeah, absolutely. I can.
Where was you?
We played Villa away. We played Villa away, not beaten Villa away at Villa Park for about 20 years. We won 1-0. I scored. It was the early kickoff on the Saturday. I scored a volley. So I went home. I come back up to Wolves Sunday night. I got into my house, walked into the kitchen, got the text message. It was about, 6 o'clock, something like that. Got a text message. I'm looking at it.
So what does it say, the text message?
It was just like, from the FA, you've been selected for England, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I was like, I'm not sure. And then I got a call, and they were like, look, it's from the FA. You're going to get picked up tomorrow. You're going to need passport, this, and this. And I was just like, wow. And then they were like, I don't know, you've got about 45 minutes before it comes out on Sky Sports News or whatever. So I'm like trying to call everyone, speak to my mum and dad, couldn't get hold of my mum, couldn't get hold of my dad, couldn't call, the house phone wasn't working. Spoke to my brother, we chanced it and to call their local Indian restaurant because they used to go up there quite a bit. So I called them up, it was the Raj Duke, and I called them up and was like, is my mum and dad there? They were like, yeah. I said, you couldn't just track them on the phone, could you? So, and then they were like, hey, and an extra few.
Quality, that.
It's amazing.
Well, we've spoke about it a few times. How did you feel going? So I always had imposter syndrome. Me, even when I was playing at Manchester City, West Ham, I felt like. Did you ever have that as a young player or as an older player, going into the England camp for the first time?
Yeah. I mean, I did that everywhere I went. Really, to be honest, when I first went to Gillingham, I didn't know anyone there. Maybe I knew one other player that actually come from Millwall with me. I didn't know anyone, so you have to sort of find your feet. It took me maybe a little bit longer than usual. I then went to Walsall. I didn't know anyone there. So you're starting again. It's like first day back at school.
Did you ever doubt yourself as a player though? Or did you back yourself to the hill?
I genuinely, I can honestly say, I think I didn't have as much confidence as I should have, and I think if I backed myself more, I've eked out everything that I could possibly have done. I couldn't have worked any harder. I couldn't have done it. I can't look back with any regrets. But if mentally maybe I was that little bit more cocky, a bit more like
having yourself,
who knows? But going into the England squad was like just phenomenal.
Who would have been in that squad then?
Terry, Lampard, Rooney.
That was the proper England team, that wasn't it?
Top team.
And who did you play? What was the?
We played Wales and Ghana. Wales was away. I didn't play in that game, and we played Ghana at home. Just phenomenal. I vividly remember second half. I was like warming up, running up and down, and constantly just looking. Literally looking up at the bench, waiting, and you get that, and I was like, me, and they were like, yeah. I was like, sprint back. Right. You can then start like everything, and I'm just like shirt off. Everything else was done. I just get my shirt, looking at all the tactics board, and then standing at the side of the pitch, waiting for the ball to go out, and just like
who come off for you?
Jack Wiltshire came off for me, and I come on, and just like as he was coming up, I'm just thinking there going, don't look nervous. You know the camera's on you. Don't look nervous. So I'm like standing there like, and then walking on the pitch, and I had that like not an epiphany, but like that moment, just going, I've done it. Yeah, no one can take this away from me. I played for my country. Like, done it.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And then, it sounds rubbish, but then you're into the game. I got good first couple of early touches, and then it's just what you do every single day. You're into it. You're playing a game. I took people on, took corners, free kicks. And it was like I had about 25 minutes, just unbelievable. And then all of my family were there, all my friends were there, loads of Gills fans were there, loads of Wolves fans, and then turns out West Ham fans and so on. It just, as I said, I could have been anywhere in the world, but I was at Wembley. It was phenomenal.
Quality. You went from Wolves then to
West Ham.
West Ham, yeah.
Yeah.
And how did that transition? Had Mick left Wolves?
Yeah, he got the sack, and then TC took over. But like last 13 games, I scored 7 goals. I was flying.
And they
just
lost
been in the England
games,
squad.
Didn't they?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was awful. I was gutted.
Imagine scoring 7
gutted.
goals in a team.
Yeah, I mean, I was flying personally, but it was. I was distraught. But football, it happens. We got relegated. I was just played for England. I was wanting to stay in the Premier League to try and get back in the England squad. Difficult time. Had a few bids rejected. I knew that the last one was coming in. Finally got accepted. It was a few interesting conversations between that with like Jez, Moxie, and then Sal Solbakken, who came in as the manager. I think he come in his first meeting with us. He put everyone into the meeting room and was like, what we're going to do, this, and this. And at the end of it, he was like, look, my door's always open if anyone wants to come in and speak. And then he went out, and there's about 14 lads outside, like ready to knock on the door, like, I want to go. It was awful. But I was, I played in all of the pre-season. I played in the first couple of games of the season, and then, West Ham, I was their club record signing at the time to go to West Ham.
10 million or something?
It was overall it was 12.75. Wow. Which is
who was the manager at West Ham?
Big Sam. So as regards to, it was amazing to get a move to back playing in the Premier League. Yeah. But club record signing at a club like West Ham is huge pressure.
Massive.
Huge pressure. And I don't think you really, like, you've experienced it. You don't think you realise how big a club it is until you're actually there.
Yeah.
Everyone's a West Ham fan, or there's this and that. Everyone, it's just the amount of media duties you do, your radio, the community, everything that you have to do outside of actually playing is massive. And it's just that side of things. And obviously, for me, again, I'm always my biggest critic, but I started really well. My last season at Wolves, I put in the most crosses in Europe, most successful crosses in Europe. First season at West Ham, most crosses in Europe, most successful crosses in Europe. So it was like, I was doing well, level. But it was still, I remember, I think it was about 8 weeks into it, I hadn't scored, and there was a thing going around on socials, like if I hadn't scored by a certain date, they were going to burn my house down. And stuff like that. My missus was reading it. I'm like, Luckily I scored, so I didn't have to find out whether it was going to be true. But yeah, it comes with a lot of pressure, and that's hard to deal with as a player. Even though I'm 24, 25. Still hard.
Yeah, West Ham fans, you got to get them on side.
Yeah, absolutely.
I suppose all fans, they want you to do well, don't they? But yeah, they can turn.
Yeah, but as long as you show you're committed, you work hard, you do all of the basics, you're going to have bad games. They understand that. Yeah. But as long as you're committed and you work hard for the badge, they'll back you. And that's what I did. So I hopefully got them on side. But it's that mentality, that I suppose that pressure is hard to deal with. Each level you go up and up and up, it's magnified. For me, I was buzzing, half buzzing that Andy Carroll signed permanently the following window and took the price tag off me.
And he could be on the end of your crosses.
Absolutely. I mean, we're gutted really that me and him didn't play as many games together through injuries. That I think we were a perfect combo, but it just didn't materialise as well as we would have hoped.
Was that injuries to yourself or to him? Or
Andy,
Andy,
yeah. I mean, he's on his day, he's unplayable. Really is incredible. I've only seen two players, Mick's the other one, that has got that sort of slap head with heading. You know what I mean by that? It's that connection, it's just bang. Andy had that. It was just he constantly screaming at me, Jarvo, just hang it up. He didn't want them whipped crosses in, just hang it up, and then he would just come like a battering ram and just clean
I know exactly
out.
what you mean by that connection. I remember being a kid. Do you remember? You'll be too young, probably. Alvin Martin.
Yeah, cool.
Centre half. West Ham. He had like a forward, but he used to have me as a kid at Chapel Heath. I used to kick it from the penalty area. He'd be on the halfway and he'd head it back over my head. It was incredible, but I do know what you mean by that slap, that connection.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
And how long were you at West Ham for, Matt?
I did like 5 years there. 3 great years, 10th, 12th, 13th or something like that. 10th, 13th, 12th, whatever way it was. Great. And then the following year, Mick, Sam, halfway through the season, decided to not play with wingers. So I found myself sort of out of the team a fair bit. Only played about 11 games, and I wasn't one of them players that could sit and do nothing. I wanted to play. I think it wasn't nothing. My whole career was about money. I just wanted to play. So I found myself at the end of that season. Sam Allardyce left. Slaven Bilic came in.
With Julian Dix? Did Dixie come in as well?
Yeah. And Edin, who then went on to manage Borussia Dortmund in the final of the Champions League. But it was great. The lads finished in the European places the season before, so you had to qualify for the Europa League, and obviously it was all the group stage. So it started in end of June. So all the ones that had been playing, they still were off. So it was like Muggins here would come in early and playing all of the group games, and but it was brilliant for me. I came in, Slaven came in, watched and took parts of it, and then did all pre-season, started really well. I played in the first 5 games of the season, but as a sub. We had Lanzini that come, who was unbelievable. Dimitri Payet, who came, was unbelievable. So they were sort of in front of me. And had a good relationship with Slaven. He was like, he wanted me to stay. He said, I can't guarantee you're going to start every week, but you can see you've played in every game. And it got to transfer deadline day, everyone knows you sat on the sofa watching it, and suddenly I get a call saying, Norwich want to take me on loan, just a loan for a season, no view to permanent or anything. What did I want to do? And I was stuck because I wanted to stay, but at the same time, I'd only played 11 games the season before. I found it really difficult. I went for a period where I got in stupidly good shape, as in my body fat before that was about 7, but I was low 6s. I did all of the finger prick tests, food intolerance. My red things were gluten, dairy, wheat, soy. Everything was red. So I cut out as much as I could. I was in ridiculous shape. I did extra training, running. I did because I couldn't control anything. The only thing I could control was myself. So I was magnified. If I was in the gym, I was doing it, and I just got in a really good place. But my family were like, "Are you all right?"
Yeah, but if
you're
you're
looking a bit like, and I was
if you're
like,
in
"No,
that good shape,
unbelievable."
you win a game at the end of the week, don't you?
Oh, exactly.
And
And
you're training
I couldn't handle that really. Even though if I trained the best all week, it didn't really change anything at the weekend. So I found that tricky. So I was fighting with myself what to do. And in the end, I was like, do you know what? I want to go and prove myself again. I want to go and play games. And Norwich were giving me that opportunity.
They were in the Prem though.
Yeah, in the Prem, yeah. So I went there and started like a house on fire, scored in my debut. Like, could not have picked a better debut. Yeah, we won 3-1. I scored a left foot whip into the top corner. Like, could not have picked a better debut. Scored in my second game against West Brom in the Cup. Was absolutely flying. I was the fittest I've ever been because I obviously played all these Europa League games, my VO2 was ridiculous. I was just in a really good place, and then I played about 10 games for Norwich, and then we played Man City away, and I did something that I never normally do, and that was tackle. And I picked Yaya Toure to be my tackle, and he broke me.
He's a big lad.
He's a bit
first one to tackle.
Well, the worst part about that is the ball then broke, and I went into a tackle with Sanya. So after that, I'd done my MCL. I rehabbed, got myself back in about 10 weeks, no surgery, and then I played the rest of the season. But my knee was killing me. I was having injections, all sorts of stuff, all during the season. You know, when you have a jab, 2 days off. Go back in, train, and I did that for the whole season. I must have had each international break and stuff. I did jabs all the way through, and then at the end of the season, like we unfortunately, I signed permanently in January. We got relegated, which was a disaster because we were nowhere near relegation zone. We should never have been relegated. But anyway, got relegated. My knee's killing me. I had all these injections all through the summer. I then started having PRP, so I've gone from steroids to PRP to try and get it going. I come back pre-season and my knee was in bits.
What's PRP, Matt?
The blood, where you take blood, you spin it and you put the good blood back in. So I come back pre-season and my knee was killing me. And I just said to them, look, I can't do it. It's so sore. I couldn't kick the ball with my right foot. I was like, it's so sore. And in the end they were like, well, so you're telling us that you can't do it? And I was like, yeah. So anyway, I went in for exploratory surgery on my knee. And when I woke up, they were like, your medial wasn't attached properly. So I played 7 months with my medial not attached properly. So I had my medial pinned, surgery I got back in the correct time. It was about 3 months. My first training session, I cut inside, had a shot and got snaps on my ankle. And I was like, oh, that was sore. You know, when you're like, that was sore. But it was my first session. I've been out for ages. I was like, no, I'm all right. I iced it. We had a scan. Oh, you've got inflammation in your ankle. I was like, cool. Got through to the international break, jab, another international break, jab. At this point, the team's sort of like not really doing great. Alex Neil, I think, got the sack. So at this point, the whole club's in a bit of limbo. So I'm sort of getting through training, but not really able to do what I want to do. I was icing it, jabbing it, and that sort of just carried on going. And it got to the end of the season, and I had more injections. Again, I was like a pincushion all the way through the season. Got to the end of the season. Had more jabs over the summer, pre-season, same thing happened. I come back. I've worked so hard in the gym to get myself back. Coming first week, I was like, I could run. As soon as I stopped, it was like a dagger going in the back of my ankle. So I was like, look, can't do it anymore. So I went in for another exploratory surgery. And when you have a scan, it there's all inflammation, and so the cartilage is all down like that, and there's all inflammation all around it. So I was having jabs and jabs to settle it all down. But when they went into surgery, when they touched the cartilage, it all fell off. So when I was running, it was like that. And when I stopped, it would go like that. So I was just literally bone on bone. That's why it was hurting so much. So I woke up from the op and I was like, it didn't go it wasn't quite what we expected. I was like, what's happened? So they said I had a 2 centimetre by 2 centimetre on the top of my talus and bottom of my tib, where it all attaches. So I had to have what's called a microfracture, as you well know. You've had one. Yeah. So where they drill holes in the bone and they let it bleed, and then that sets, and that's your fibrous tissue. But it was a disaster, absolute disaster, and mine just couldn't get fit. It was so sore. I was in absolute agony. About 9 months I'd gone through. I just couldn't. Literally, it was like I couldn't walk like normally.
Did they put you on crutches for like months? You weren't allowed to put any weight on it.
Yeah, and then as I started to get walking, I could walk. I could walk, and it would be all right on that. As soon as I had to go downhill, oh my God, it was like the pain that goes like because I was bone on bone.
Yeah.
It was so sore. And so that was a nightmare. I was trying to get myself fit. I went to like LA with one of the other players called Alex Pritchard. He was injured, so they wanted him to get fit and do this training. So I went there and tried to get fit there, come back, had more jabs, more this. And then I finally sort of fast forwarding a little bit, I got myself a bit back fit-ish. And then I picked up what's called IT band friction syndrome. Right. And they were like, well, we're not like straight in for surgery. So I had surgery just to sort it out straight away rather than prolonging everything. I had jabs in it previous to try and set it down. So I went straight in for surgery. And I remember a bit further along, I went down to London to the 40th to go and see, James Calder, I think it was, who did the ankle. And they were like, have a little look at that when you put the iodine in and it all comes up on the scan to see. And they're like, the operation was a huge success. It's the best we could have hoped for. Mm. But if it's not working, like, we suggest you retire. And I was like, what
age was you at?
32.
Yeah, and so we had that.
So how long had this all gone on since you'd first injured?
So this was probably about 2 years.
Wow.
At this point.
How many games had you managed to play?
None.
No, we hadn't played at all.
Not played at all.
Not one game.
I think I played one reserve game and I had to come off.
So mentally, where was you at that?
Awful. To put it into context, my wife and I had our firstborn, so my son was born. He was born probably a couple of months after I had my first surgery on my knee. So at that point, my wife sort of moved back down south to have a bit of help with my son. I was up in Norwich on my own for 6 out of 7 days predominantly. I'd come back as much as I could, but I was there 6 out of 7 days. She would come up and see as much as I can, but it was tricky. So I missed about 2 years really of him growing up. I was in pain every single day. I was sat on my own.
Obviously the club wouldn't you in because you were an asset to them and they wanted you to get fit.
Yeah, and that's fine. I wanted to be in because I wanted to get fit, but I missed out on loads of stuff. I was in pain, which is the biggest thing. I don't care about the other side of it. I wasn't playing. I was getting a pelters from the fans because I was injured all the time. I was this and that, but it's the most difficult time of my whole life, let alone football career. Was when I was sat on my own crying on my sofa in the afternoon just because I couldn't walk without being in pain. And I got told to retire by the specialist. Norwich offered me a year's money to go. I was like, no. No. I turned it all down. I was like, no, I'm not. They took my shirt number off me, moved my car park spot, loads of things that happened. But I was like, nope. I was lucky in a sense that there was a couple of other players that had long-term injuries at the time at Norwich. There's a guy called Louis Thompson who snapped his Achilles twice. He had surgery and then had redone it. And then Carlton Morris who had his ACL. So when there was days where I was like, no, I don't want to go on the bike and do with an altitude mask on and try and do the ski erg and doing all these gym sessions. I can't. And they would be like, no, come on, like we'll get it done. It's all in the bank, Yeah. And then they would be going through a bad patch. They go for a scan. It's not as good as it was. And they're all low, and you're like, no, come on. Like you keep each other going a little bit. But So
did you just not want to retire? Was that it?
No, I was like, my thing was no one's ever going to tell me that's me done. I'm going to do it myself. and also that I wanted it to mean something. I've missed 2 years of my son growing up. I'm still in pain. I can't do this for the rest of my life. My wife was like, well, you want to be able to run around and play with your kids. Kid at the time, but kids, like when you're older, like your body is going to be, I'll be pushing you around in a wheelchair, which will happen at some point, let me tell you. But my mind was always on, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm never giving up on this. And I want to make it mean something that I've missed my son growing up for 2 years. I've missed, loads of things. I've been told this and that, and I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. And it was the worst journey. If someone had told me before it started that this is what you're going to have to go through, there's no way I would have done it. Yeah. No way.
It's mad. Fans don't see that, do they? all they see is the footballer.
Yeah.
He's injured
the
all
money.
the time.
They're still getting paid.
Still
They're
getting
all right.
paid.
Yeah.
But the stuff you have to go through is more than the money, isn't it? Yeah, footballers get paid well, yeah. But that mental side of it, of one having to do the rehab. When it's short injuries, you can deal with it. But once you're starting to go over talking months,
I was 2.5 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And on the back of it, having a young child that you're away from, they don't see that, do they? They just throw pelters at players, going, "Oh, he's always injured." They don't realise the struggle.
Yeah, and like for me, once I started to get myself back going, I'd be like flying. In the rehab, and I'll be like, right, I'm going to be back in training next week. And then I'd do one thing, and I pulled my groin, and it was a small, like grade 1. It was like 10 days I'd miss. I was so close, and then I'd get myself back from for that, and then something else would go, and I started to pick up like stupid little 10-day injuries, and the grand scheme of things, everyone's like, it was 10 days, don't worry about it. But I was like, another one.
10
Like,
days,
it's 2.5 years. Like it was demoralising.
Did you get any help psychologically off the club? Did he get?
There was a guy called Gavin Drake that was at the club. And as you well know, you've known me long enough before that. I would do all sorts to try and get them, as I call them, the little 1%ers. If I thought like visualising this would help, I'd go and do that. Bill came in and we did all sorts of stuff that. I just thought I'd give it a go because if that's going to help me in any way, it's only a positive. I've not lost anything, so I would speak to him. But the hard part with anything with like that is you've got to open up. You've got to be. I was very lucky that my wife, my wife's family, I suppose, they're all like they all talk, like everything's open. My mother-in-law says she's a psychotherapist.
Oh, cool.
And my wife. So I would not have been able to get through them 2.5 years if it wasn't for like my wife, especially my family. I don't really feel like anyone. I don't even think my mum and dad and my friends, close friends, that they really knew what I was going through. My wife did. She would come and sit with me, and I'd be crying on the sofa, and it was awful.
Well, did you just pretend you was all right to your friends?
Well, I was a sort of a recluse, really, because I was up there on my own. They would, like my close mates, they would come up every now and again, if they could, but everyone's got their own stuff going on, and I would, my sole focus was just trying to get fit, and I tell my mum and dad what was going on, as in like, oh, how's day? Yeah, it's fine, but they didn't really see what was really going through. And it's hard. Like I had my wife to speak to, and I would say she saw me in the very low, but a lot of the time I was sat on my own. It's a really tough place to be. But I was always gonna be like, no, I'm gonna get fit. I don't know how, but I'm gonna do it, and I eventually did. I got through. So at this point, I've got myself fit. It's coming up to Christmas, and Norwich are flying. They're top of the Championship. They're absolutely flying. I got on really well with Daniel Farker as a manager. I liked his style of play. I actually think I would have played really well in that team. But they're flying, and he's come to me and gone, look, I want I think Walsall would come. Like Russell Martin, he was at Norwich. He'd then gone as one of the coaches at Walsall, and he was like, Daniel Farker just before Christmas said to me, Walsall have come in. They want to take you on loan. He said, I personally, as a manager, want you to stay because you're brilliant around the place. You great experience. But we've got the team's playing really well. You're not, not going to get a game. So as a person, I think what you've been through. I think you should go and play some games. So I was like, right, okay. So I went on loan to Walsall. I can remember my first game. We played Bolton away in the cup, and after just that walk out onto the pitch was just like, just
after so long.
Oh, it was amazing. It's like emotional, like walking out. It was so amazing. And then I got my first assist after about 10 minutes. We lost the game, but I got 2 assists in that game. I was just like, I played about 80 minutes. I was absolutely buzzing. And then I played about 10 games for Walsall. And then I got munched on my ankle, and my ankle was, I had to go, and then I had to have another op on my ankle. And then my contract in Norwich had finished, and I was sort of in that wilderness, I suppose, that is of you're out of contract, you're not played for 2.5 years, you're 33, nearly 34, and it was like, So
what do I do now?
Yeah, well, and for me, I was like, well, no way am I stopping because I've just got myself back fit. So I moved back home down south, and then I had a few options on the table. Went and trained at Gillingham. That was supposed to be the one, really.
Full circle.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have gone back there. I played for Walsall against Gills and absolutely played really well. And then I would have loved to have gone back there. And then there was a Swindon option. And then out of the blue, I'd already started to do some media work and everything. It was Wolves at the time were playing in Europa League. So I was doing BT at that point it was. So I was started to do the media and doing all that. And then I got a phone call from a number that I didn't know, and I'm one of them. I love to know who that is. So
I'm the opposite.
Yeah, I know who those people are. But I was like, no, I want to. So I answered it. I was in my gym at the time, working, ready to get to go somewhere and play. I answered it, and I was like, oh, Matt, it's Martin Tyler, and I was like, yeah, I know the voice. Yeah.
Straight away.
And I was thinking, this is unbelievable. What's he want me to do at Sky? Yeah, I'm just doing the Europa League. And he goes, I don't know if you know, but I'm the assistant manager at Woking. I was like, what? And Woking is 15 minutes around the corner for me. They were National League, part-time, trained twice a week, playing a weekend. He was like, look, we got a game on Tuesday. I think this was the Friday. He called me and goes, we got a game on Tuesday, a friendly against the QPR 23s. I'd love for you to come and play, even if it's just to have a game, but we'd love for you to come down at Woking. So anyway, I was like, do you know what? I'll go and play the game. So I went and played. Great game. Lads were brilliant at Woking. They're all a lot of players were, either working and coming. But they were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I was like, my second team that I ever played in as a kid, I started at Guildford City. I went to a place called Meadow Sports, and they sort of back onto the stadium at Woking. And I was like, do you know what? This is brilliant for me. So I went and I signed at Woking. And my first game, I came off the bench because I'd only literally played one game. And that 23s, and I don't think I played 90. Anyway, I come off the bench. It was 0-0. I come off. My second touch, I scored. And then I got an assist. We won 2-0. So I played 30 minutes, got a goal and assist. Wow. I was like, what a great decision this was. This is brilliant. And then the following Saturday, I come straight from the hospital. My daughter had just been born. So I come from the hospital, went to the game. I played the last 30 minutes again, got another assist. So I was like, I've played 2 games. I played 60 minutes, got 1 goal, 2 assists. I was like, this is everything was brilliant. And then the following week, COVID. And that was it, season done. Finished, yeah, because I know it finished everywhere, but National League, it was just... Yeah. And then I was like, oh, what an absolute nightmare. So I carried myself fit, and I signed up again for the following year at Woking. And then I played that season, and it was a weird season. No fans. National League rely heavily on fans. It was a weird sort of atmosphere. I still enjoyed it. I still played.
Was Martin still assistant manager?
Yeah, with Alan Dowson. So it was great. We then sort of fizzled out a little bit towards the end of the season. We were still in the cup competition that we were in a semi-final, and we lost against Hereford. And if we won, we were playing at Wembley in the final. We lost in the semis, and then I actually got furloughed at the end of the season. And it was like, at that point, I was 35, and I was just like, I don't know. I was still tempted to carry on, but then I was just like, do you know what? 35.
You strung it out there though, didn't you, Matt?
I was like, I've done what I wanted to do. My family probably didn't want me to play. I'd been away a lot. I've sacrificed a lot. My body was in bits. There was a lot going on. COVID. My daughter had just been born. There's so many variations that were going on in the background, and I just thought, do you know what? I've loved every minute of it. Yes, it's been horrendous in spells, but I wouldn't change it. It's made me a much better person. I'm thankful for everything that's happened. Whatever's not broke me made me stronger. I use all of them expressions, but it has. And I was like, it's the right time.
And I just stopped on your terms. It weren't somebody else's.
Exactly. Do you know only 10% of players know when their last game is?
Right.
That's a horrendous thing. I actually didn't know when my last game was. It turns out it was Willesden away. But I didn't know that was it. I played that game, and then we were waiting for the next, and then I eventually got furloughed. But I was like, do you know what? For me, it's the right time.
It's painful to hear your story because nobody outside realises. No. Like I know Woody accidentally said it earlier. He said, "Oh, you was injury prone." You wasn't injury prone,
no,
because that's what people think. It's from impact.
Yeah,
and
you got chopped.
Four out of my 3 ups were impact.
And the way you trained and the application you showed, without them injuries, you'd probably still be playing now.
I would love to say I would. I mean, I miss it massively. I would love it. I'd love to be able to play now. I genuinely do.
You still look in really good shape. It's just the joints.
Yeah. It's just the body. Yeah, really, it's just my right leg. All surgeries, all on my right leg.
You can have mine. I never used my right leg.
I'm not sure I'll have that one. But yeah, it's. I still love it. I love I love being like match day. That walk when I'm an ambassador at West Ham now, and when I go and I do all of the corporate gigs, and in the lounges and everything, that's great. But when you go down pitch side and you're next to the grass,
the atmosphere.
There's nothing but no better feeling. It's where you massively miss it.
Do you do all the home games at West Ham?
Do all the home games.
Cool.
So it's great to build up that I've been there doing it the last 4 years now, and I'm a much better player now that I'm retired as well.
It's easier to understand.
So much easier. Yeah, I would have done that. But yeah, I miss everything about it. I miss the training. I love going in the gym. I go in the gym all the time. It's my happy place. If I'm having a tough time or the kids are driving me up the wall or something, my missus is always like, go in the gym. Yeah. And I come out, I'm like, sir. Yeah, it's like a nice, I love that. And you can't have that buzz of football, and that's an amazing experience. And if you've never done it, you don't understand what it's like. But yeah, I do wish I could still play now, but I know I can't. And it was the right decision.
You're doing lots of other things though, aren't you, Matt?
Loads of it, yeah. And I do. There's some random bits in there as well, but there's a lot of great, amazing stuff that I enjoy absolutely everything. No, I mentor players, which is a real passion of mine. Because I mentor the Wolves Academy players with Staffs University, and they're some of them are like, I've moved out of home at 16. I was like, yeah, I did that. I know exactly what you're going through. Oh, I've been injured. Oh, yeah. I've done that. Yeah, and then you're like, I've done it. Yeah, I've done that, and I know I've probably done everything that you're going to do as well. Like, I understand what you're going through, and I can help you and guide you. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to guide you and say, look, in my experience, this is what I did. Would that benefit you? And there's so many things that I do. I've got my own players. So mentoring's a massive part of what I do. I'm an advisor to a sports psychology app called Unlock, which again, you say about mindset, and that's to try and really get focused between the ears of, like, if you struggle, you're an unbelievable trainer, which we've seen so many, they're unbelievable. But then in a game, you're like, no, like what's happened there? Or if you've got injured, there's the routines and habits that you can go through. All of that. I'm trying to think of. There's so many other bits that I do.
There's a lot of it. It's just actually live, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a book. I think it was Bill that gave it to me. It might not have been Bill. Somebody recommended it. It was at Wolves, called The Mind Gym.
Yeah.
And it was a great book, and it was mainly about sport and about players getting the maximum. But you could relate it just to life.
Yeah.
And when the attitude that you have to life is, obviously, we're both in recovery from addiction, and basically the program that we're on is to attempt to get the attitude that you have to life, so that we don't pick up.
Yeah.
And so I'd probably say you've had that instilled in you by the way you've been brought up, your parents. You think about, I've just been sort of thinking about your childhood. Yeah. You did all these different sports. Obviously, you had the support of your parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were probably running you there.
Yeah.
And probably watched a lot of your games.
My mum and dad travelled absolutely everywhere to watch me, yeah.
And a lot of kids don't get that support, But so it's so that then creates the person, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah.
It's like it's the whole job lot, really, isn't it? You got the talent. I kicked a ball against, somebody said, a lot of it's just on practice. I reckon I kicked the ball against my garage door hundreds of thousands of times, and I was still shit.
But part of the stuff that I do now as well is I do leadership workshops, and I go and speak to different organisations, because yes, mine was leadership and what I did, and you say about mindset and how I conducted myself, but that's transferable to anything.
Definitely.
Any industry. I work with a telecoms company called Better, and their pathway of how they go from they start in like an academy and they work all their way up to management and leadership, and it's exactly the same sort of style as a footballer in genuine. It's just just simple things like, well, my mentality on a daily basis was, I'm not going in and just having an off day today in training. No, every single day was, you have to work hard. You have to try and be the best that you can be in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's transferable to anything. So I enjoy anything that's trying to benefit others as well, but just giving my...
I wish I was younger than you and I had you to talk to, really.
Well,
do you know what I mean? Listening to you, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, on a personal level, I could have done with someone like you to listen to. And you speak so much sense and with clarity, and it just makes sense to me. I trained okay, to be fair, but I could have done more.
You worked hard on a football.
But
on a football pitch, I worked.
The thing
really
is, it's hard though, because a few of the players that I speak to now, I'm like, it doesn't actually, like, you've got like, don't be the sheep. Don't be a sheep. Don't follow everyone, and everyone's doing this. You imagine in your youth team, it was like, oh, here he is, busy bollocks. Yeah. I don't care. Like, I might never see you again because I'm gonna be that.
Matt Holland was in my youth team, and he always did extras and did things properly, and everyone used to batter him.
Do you know that? While we're on the I don't care thing, while I've got you both there, obviously I was never involved in professional football. Well, obviously I did my little stint at Wolves, but was nothing to really do with the football side of it. It was more on lifestyle stuff outside football. But you've both played a lot of football matches, and since I met your boss Barry, it's got me thinking about like gay footballers, and I've started looking at statistics. 2.8% of the population would be gay or bi or whatever, and yet in football it's this. It's never spoken about, really, is it?
Yeah, I've never heard.
You've got players that once they've retired have come out.
Exactly, but they haven't got the confidence to come out. When Barry actually said, when we interviewed Barry, he said, if I was a professional footballer and I was straight, I'd be tempted to say I was gay to get all the sponsorship deals. Yeah, and I just feel it's a shame.
Awful
for a footballer. I mean, they're going in to a club because obviously there's been a significant amount of gay players going into a football club and not being able to be themselves. Probably going in you two can tell better than me, there's banter goes on in the dressing rooms and stuff. And once all that starts, then probably a bit like less likely to like come out, And I mean, personally, I don't feel that there's enough support within football. This is just my personal opinion. For that, we've got the Black Lives Matter, which is great. People taking the knee, all that stuff. But wouldn't it be nice if gay footballers could just be themselves? I mean, the women's game doesn't have a problem with it, does it? No.
I think it just needs that first player to come out and do it, which is different. It is a lot of pressure.
But wouldn't it be great?
But you got like the Rainbow Laces campaigns and different things.
But I'm talking about, the reality. You sign for a club. Imagine having the owner and the manager saying, look, guys.
I think it will happen at some point.
Well,
but
it could do with happening a bit sooner than later, couldn't it? I mean, my daughter's an actress. In her world, nobody gives a damn if you're gay or not. I run a car sales business, Stockport Car Supermarket, by the way. Please come and buy a car. I run a car sales business. If somebody come to me and I would give a damn whether they were gay or not. They want a job. And, and this stigma that obviously I'm not gay, so I can't actually say how that would feel. Yeah. But I am a recovering drug addict, an alcoholic, and I'm proud that I'm in recovery.
And you can be yourself.
And I don't give a shit. If somebody judges me, I'm not bothered. And
I think that's a different. You've come through that.
Absolutely,
now. That's a different thing.
Of course.
So when I was at West Ham, when I first joined, actually, I got asked to appear on the front cover of Attitude magazine, which is a gay magazine.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 other players that have ever been on the cover, and obviously they do like a few pages in. I think it was 10-page spread in the magazine, but it was David Beckham and Freddie Ljungberg. and me.
Well done.
You're in good company there.
And if I'm honest, when I got asked to do it, I was just like, yeah, fine, great. And I spoke loads about it. I did. It was like a big taboo about in football. I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, I'm more than happy to do it and to talk about it, no problem. And then when it came out, the magazine came out, and I would say I got asked about that for the next 2 and a bit years. Every single interview that I ever did after the game or anything was always, oh, so you are covered. You were on the cover of the Attitude magazine. I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, so what's your, and people were like, I was like, well, no, it's just trying to raise awareness, and be, part is everyone's included, and and they were all like, even my father-in-law got asked whether he was like, oh, I didn't know he was gay. He's like, well, he's not. He's married to my daughter. Yeah, right, But it's like, it's just a massive. It got so much publicity that I was just like, wow. I didn't realise how much it was going to get, because I was just like, yeah, no problem.
Fair play.
That's fine. That's good. That's
it was
a
just
good
like,
thing,
wow.
Can you imagine if you were actually now out there, a 23, 24-year-old footballer playing at a high level, and you came out? Imagine how much money you could make as well. I mean, just in endorsements would be amazing. But you mentor people. I sponsor people in the fellowship. We're in the fellowship. Yeah. And since I've been in the fellowship 22 years, and it teaches us to be non-judgmental. Yeah. I don't give a damn if someone's from a rich background, a poor background, whatever colour they are, sexuality or whatever. It just doesn't bother me. I'll help anybody with their alcoholism or drug addiction or whatever. But if I could, it would be so lovely if these gay players out there could actually not give a shit. I mean, it might be a big ask to start with. Yeah,
but, as you well know, like, and if you're the whoever that's been at work all week and then goes to watch their team on a weekend, and they're just trying to get anything to put you off as a player in the opposition team because they want your team to win. I mean, there's so many other variations that why
the other way though.
I totally like. I mean, it's completely not the same. But I used to get abused by the fans, and I was on a wing. I could hear everything. But I would turn around and smile and laugh, and they would be in uproar. But I always took it as I spun it on myself and my own person. I was like, I must be doing something well.
Absolutely.
That I'm getting abused for. Yeah. So I'd turn around and smile, and they'd be livid, and I would find it hilarious. And then I'd just carry on with my game. But that takes a lot of getting used to. It's not something that I just was like, oh, okay, that's over a bit of time.
But when you think, if you go back, I'm obviously a lot older than you two. There was only one black player who played at the top level when I was a kid. It was Clyde Best, played for West Ham. So can you imagine the shit he got? Yeah. Without any protection either, by the way. Just don't give a damn then. So he went out, took it, played. It's doable, isn't it? And he had a good career. It's doable. I just think once the ball starts rolling, can you imagine being a gay player, getting stick off the opposition fans and scoring a hat-trick? I mean, is there a better way to stick it up them than that? Sorry, excuse that. That was a Freudian slip. You know what I mean, though? It's just fantastic. So I'd love to get involved supporting, especially if Barry fancies, getting involved with it and helping players. If they could come into the club, surely, and just be themselves, they'd surely play better. Would you agree?
Yeah, you would think so.
Because you're hiding your own self, aren't you?
Yeah. I think there will come a day when that happens.
I hope so.
Yeah. And probably not too far away.
Yeah, it's got to be. Can't be. Well,
that's why I said earlier, don't be a sheep. Don't follow, be your own person. If you don't think that's right, don't do that. If you think you should be doing this, do that. The football is very much about everyone's sort of worried about whatever. No, you just concentrate on you. Mick told me is you can only control your controllables. You can't control what everybody else is doing and thinking about. Yeah. You just control you. That's why I said when I was at West Ham, I wasn't playing. There was so much other stuff going on. All I could control was me. So that's why I was like, right, I'm eating healthy. I'm training more. I'm doing this. And I was like fixated on that because that's the only thing I could control. You can't be worried about where everyone else is. If you go in every day and you do the best that you can be, who cares about anyone else?
Yeah,
someone else will spot that you're working hard, and then they might go, "Geez, he's actually he's improving. I need to actually step that up.
It's a good point for young players to listen to that. Because I remember being at City when Darren Huckabee was there, and Darren was he was a top player, come with a big reputation and scored goals.
Quick.
He would always do extras, and I remember I used to think, why is he doing extras? Like, he's on top of his game, he's scoring goals, and I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Maybe I was naive, maybe I was a little bit stupid, but for any young player, no matter what level you're at, do your best, do extras.
And don't give a shit if someone's laughing or giving you an hard
just
time.
get it done.
You're saying, you shouldn't have done this, you should be doing that. Well, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter what anyone else says. Obviously, if you're your coaches and you've got to understand the principles behind it, what we shape, what formation, all of that sort of things. But actually, you're training. Why can you not do extras? Why can you not work on you? Why can you not, even like before training? Don't just wait and have a chat and then suddenly put your boots on and out you go. Oh no, go and warm up in the gym. Go and do something to activate yourself before you go out. So then when you go out, you're ready to go, not starting the process of getting ready. It's just the simple things that are just
little
1%ers that you can just do that actually make a huge difference to you. If you do that every single day,
over the course
of the season, it's habit, but it's also look what you've achieved and no one else has achieved because you're doing this every single day and they're not. It doesn't matter about them, but you're going to your stock's just going to go like that.
And even if you don't achieve anything, you've given yourself the best chance to.
You can never look round and go, if I didn't.
Yeah, if only.
The failure is actually not trying.
Yeah, 100%. If you give everything and you don't make it.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. You can take that.
Yeah. You can look yourself in the mirror and go, give it my best shot. The amount of people say, this happened, that
exactly.
happened.
It's excuses, but...
Yeah. Well, I had plenty. My life was riddled with them until I got into recovery. But I love the expression as well. I love it. It's from a guy called Charles Swindells, and I've said it before, but I'm not going to make an excuse for not saying it again. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% of how you deal with it. And I love that. It's so much is about certain people, and you would be a prime example, Matt. This is what you've got, and the odds are that you're going to make the best out of what you've got. Yeah. And imagine how many people actually have got the talent and what they never do.
Yeah, I was never the most talented. I had to work at everything.
One of the quickest, though.
Yeah, but I had to work at that as well. That's why I can look back now and I've got no regrets about anything. I've eked everything out. I could not have put in extra work. I could not have. If I just done, I can't. I can look around and go, yeah. That's why I'm quite comfortable. Yes, I wish I didn't get injured, but there's nothing I can do about that. And I've learned a lot about myself in that as well.
Yeah, you seem really happy. Obviously, you're only 39, and some players play for that. But I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting today. Actually, I think I was probably expecting a player that's not long retired. I know you're saying it's 5 years, but maybe still unsure of what they want to do. But you seem so focused, like you. And listening to your story, I can understand why. Where you've actually give it everything through injuries, through everything, and come through the other end. And I was thinking, will he know where he's going now? But you seem like you're so focused and know what you're about and know what your purpose from here on in is in what you're doing.
Yeah, I think I've very much been since I've finished playing. I think, unfortunately, statistically wise, it's awful, and I can see now, sort of being through it. I think I do some work, and I go into clubs to talk about it. I think 35% of players in the first year of retiring are divorced, and then 30% in the first 5 years are bankrupt. And that's an alarming stat, but actually, I'm now. It will be at the end of this season. It'll be 5 years, so I'm 4 and 3/4 or whatever retired. But I can definitely see why. Not just financially, but I said when I was at Norwich, I lived away from home 6 out of 7 days. I then moved back into home, and then it was lockdown. So I've gone from being on my own 6 out of 7. So's my wife with kids, and then you go back into the family home. That's a massive.
Can't go out.
But it's a massive transition. Yeah. And I also, like you say about players, it's like an institution. You've been trained. You get told what to do, where to be, when to eat, what to eat, everything. And then one day you wake up and you got nothing, no purpose, no routine, no nothing. And can be very overwhelming and daunting. And then you throw in you're not getting paid. And then you're like, well, hold on a minute. Yeah, hopefully, you've been all right and you've done all right for yourself, but so you don't have to throw yourself into something. But actually, after a year, you're like, well, hold on a minute. Everything's going up, like direct debits, all of this going up, and everything of mine's going down. Yeah. So that transition is really difficult. Yeah, it's massively, and that's what I don't think enough gets done about that transition. I really don't, because that, what was it? Did I say 30% in the first 5 years are bankrupt? Like, that shouldn't happen.
Whose responsibility in that should be the PFA? Do you think? Or
I mean, I was on the management committee for the PFA for 7 years. Right. It's tricky. Yeah, it's really hard because I think which does happen now is educating people. I was very lucky. I was my parents obviously helped me, but at that age when I was 16, 17, I didn't care about money. I had no reason. I was in digs. I think I was on £40 a week. I had no inch. I didn't need to do anything. Mm. I then moved to Wolves, and as soon as I moved to Wolves, I got a financial advisor, and I've been with him ever since. And I'm very lucky now, looking back. Thank God I did that, because otherwise, you just don't know. But I used to. Everything was done each month. What I got was all dedicated to wherever it went, and then I had that little small percentage of what I wanted to do. Don't get me wrong, I was able to go and do whatever I wanted, but I was putting everything in all other areas to make sure that now,
for when you finished,
I'm all right. Yeah, because it's a really harsh learning lesson if you don't.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of our interview, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything that we need to say, or we do like to say before we wrap up?
I've loved listening to you and your positivity and the way you look at things.
I was right about him, wasn't I?
You had an unbelievable career. Yeah, he was absolutely bang on. Bang on, unbelievable player. I remember watching you and didn't know about all your injuries and the struggles, but you're a credit to yourself, really, coming out the other end and then helping others as well, which is testament to what fellow you are. And Woody told me that, to be fair.
Yeah. So
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Matt. It's been an absolute joy. And see you soon, guys.